In this video, we'll cover everything you need to get your computer set up, whether you're running Windows or Mac OS, to start coding projects directly from code that ChatGPT provides for you. First, we'll download the necessary tools and software that you need and get some extensions installed to make life a lot easier. And then we're going to jump into our first project, which is fairly complex, but will go to show you how easy it really is to create anything you can imagine. Let's get into it. All right, what's going on, everybody? So if you want to get everything set up to go for what we're going to be doing on this channel, first you want to go to code.visualstudio.com, and that's going to get us this code editor that is widely used and very popular across the world. So to simply go ahead and download for Windows right here, and then pause the video and come on back whenever you're done. All right, now that that is all set up and installed, next thing we're going to install is Node.js. So that is a open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment, and we're probably not going to need it for anything right away, although we might, depending on what sort of thing we ask ChatGPT to build us. So it's good to just have it installed. So go ahead and install this right here for your Windows PC. And then last but not least, what I'm going to have you install is Python. So Python is a very flexible language. It's at the heart of a lot of the machine learning that is going on out there in development. So it's good to also download that as well. So you want to go to downloads and download the latest release of Python. Now, once all that is completed, so you're going to download each of these and install them, follow all the prompts that it gives you. Should take a few minutes. Then you want to make sure you have your chat.openai.com account all set up. Now, to use the latest and most powerful model, ChatGPT 4, you will need to pay per month, and I believe it is $19.99 or about $20 a month, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully it's cheaper at the time of this video. And the other models, which are very smart and very helpful as well, which we'll see over the course of these videos, are also free to use. So you can feel free to start there and see what kind of results those responses give you. But we'll be using mainly ChatGPT 4 because it is very, very powerful when it comes to programming. All right, now once we have all of that set up, what we're going to do is open up Visual Studio Code now that we have it installed. And you should see a screen just like this. So let's jump right into it. The first thing we want to do is we want to download some very helpful extensions that will make our life incredibly easier when using this for generating applications, websites, different ideas from code given to us by ChatGPT. So let's start with Prettier. Let's go ahead up here in extensions, and again, to get to extensions, click on this icon, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one down, and just type in Prettier, P-R-E-T-T-I-E-R, and you want to install this right here. It is a really, really helpful code formatter that does everything for you when it comes to making your code look right and makes it much easier to find errors and figure out what they are. All right, so the next thing that we're going to download for extensions is Live Server. So go ahead and look for Live Server. It's this one right here. Go ahead and install that up here. And it might say reload required whenever these are done installing down here on the left. That's fine. It'll just reload Visual Studio very quickly for you, and you'll be back up right where you left off. So go ahead and do that as needed for each of these. So that is Live Server, and what that does is it's going to see, as you can see in the example down here, you can run the code and it'll pop out a virtual live server right on your computer, so you don't have to actually use an FTP and put this up on a server somewhere in a data center to see it work. Okay. Now we want to go to the next one, which is Auto Rename Tag. And it is this one right here. Go ahead and install that. And then the last one here is we're going to look up Color Highlight. And so this makes it very easy to work with different colors. So if you're not familiar, this is hexadecimal format, where each color technically has a different kind of hexadecimal code that goes with it and represents it. So right here, you can actually use this plugin, which you should install, to do it in a more visual way, like you were in Photoshop or Paint or something like that. So go ahead and install that one. And that will be everything that you need to get started from an extension point of view. Now, let's go into a couple settings that will make things even easier. So go down here to the bottom left once everything is installed and you've reloaded, and click the little cog wheel and go to settings. Now again, we're going to use this search function to find exactly what we need in the settings. So let's start out with default formatter. So we installed Prettier. We want to make sure that under editor default formatter, Prettier is the formatter of choice. So we want to make sure the extension that we're using is getting used. All right. And now let's go to format on save. If I can spell it right. And just make sure this box is ticked yes. And that will make sure that Prettier formats our code every time we save it. And to make saving even easier, so you don't have to click the Control S or File Save button up here, you can go ahead and just click on Auto Save and change it to On Focus Change. So if we were in a project right here, my mouse is in here, and I click away to another screen or I click to another application or just on the bar, it will format the code because it had just auto-saved it because I changed the focus of what I was doing. Makes it very, very, very simple. Can't recommend it enough. And the last thing we're going to do, you may notice if you have everything installed, my code editor looks slightly different from yours. So the reason that is you want to go up to extensions again. So again, right here in extensions, if you clicked it and closed it, right over here, and you want to look up one MONOK, and you should get it, the one Monokai theme. All right, and this is the correct one right here. There's another one right here, but you don't want that. That is like an 80s theme. Maybe you do want that, but it'll just make everything look a little bit nicer whenever you're looking at the code. All right, and that is it. Now we are ready officially to jump into our first project and get going. Okay, now that we have everything set up, let's figure out what our workflow is so we can get code from ChatGPT into Visual Studio Code and actually start building some projects. So first, let's go right into ChatGPT. And I have nothing pre-made here. We're going to do this from start to finish to show you exactly how this works. And we're going to make something fairly complex. So that way your first project, you can really walk away with some confidence knowing what you're able to do now with the tools that you've been given here. So let's go ahead, and basically what I wanted to have it do is to explain the goal. And that's how you want to think of things like these. You want to think of the end result so you can think how to best explain it to the AI. Now, what I want is a web page where I enter a zip code, and when you hit the button, the background changes to one of three colors, either light blue, orange, or red, depending on if it's cold, warm, or hot, and it shows the temperature for the given zip code in Fahrenheit, not Celsius. So, how would we achieve this with ChatGPT and then Visual Studio Code? So let's go ahead and say, write code for a website like an expert programmer. And I've learned just through researching and watching different videos on how to get the best results out of AI models like this, and saying things like, code for a website like an expert programmer is simply just explaining to the AI how you want to do something. So, you're really just helping it do a better job of, maybe writing comments in the code, having better logic when it's handling complex ideas and things like that. So you'll end up with better results is the long and short of it. So write code for a website like an expert programmer. where you input a zip code and the background color changes to light blue if it is cold, orange if it is warm, and red if it is hot. And show the temperature in a sleek font in the center of the page in Fahrenheit. Let's see if I can spell Fahrenheit right. Probably not. We'll just do something like that and we'll have it autocorrect. All right, so write code for a website like an expert programmer where you input a zip code and the background color changes to light blue if it is cold, orange if it is warm, and red if it is hot, and show the temperature in a sleek font in the center of the page in Fahrenheit. So let's see what it does. So what I like about this is it's going to break down exactly what we need to do here. And it looks like it's going to fetch an API called an Open Weather Map API. That is a free API key that we can get. So let's go ahead and start there while this is rendering out the code for the website that we want. So let's go here. And basically what you want to do is you want to create an account. I've already created an account. So let's just exit out of that. So this is the openweathermap.org, has all of the different information, and you can see all of the different companies that use the API. So what you want to do is when you create an account, and I'll log out here to make it easy. So you're going to end up on this page. You want to create an account. And when you fill out your account, you're basically going to say you're over 16. You're going to agree. And this is just filling in some random pre-rendered things from Bing here. And then you basically just sign up. So I'm going to just sign in here. And we're going to grab what we're going to need to get this data from this API is we're going to need an API key. So as you can see here, it's making three things. Making an index file for the HTML, so think of that as the web page. A style sheet for it, so it's basically telling this web page this is how you're going to look, follow these rules. And then the JavaScript. So this is going to execute what we actually said in terms of changing the background color based on the temperature at the given zip code, and also fetch that data in real time using this open API. So here's what we're going to end up doing is you're going to go up here once you created your account, or you can go right here and you're going to grab this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. So we're going to copy this and we're going to need it later. So I actually am going to have to come back to that, but let's see how this is doing here. So replace your API key with your actual Open Weather Map API key in the script file. Save these three files in the same folder and open index in your browser to test the web app. Okay, so let's go in and start building this out. So first thing that we need here is we're going to go into Visual Studio Code, and we're going to need to start a new project. So in Visual Studio Code everything is based on a new folder or a folder that you've already started up with files in it. So I've already created a blank folder called New Idea, and it's in my external hard drive here. So you can make it on your desktop, whatever you would like to do. So let's click up here. And again, we were in extension, so if this is still open, just click up here to the Explorer, and you'll be right in here in your folder, right? So this is your folder, New Idea is mine. And let's create that new file, the index file. So we just write index, or I pasted it, .html, and we have our index.html file. So now let's go back, copy the code from it. And again, we're not writing any code, we were just copy and pasting, and boom. Now in it, you can see it's calling to this style sheet, styles.css. So we're going to go down and we're going to create that style sheet just like it said. And let's go back. So another new file, make it easy, just paste it. Click away and it will make the style sheet page. And let's copy. And let's paste. All right, that's done. And the last part here is the JavaScript. And just really quick, so let's see what it actually did. So it's doing a couple things here. So it's basically going to get the data from the weather app, and it's going to base it off of whatever the zip code would be, or if you're not given a valid zip code, it's going to show this error here. And now down here, you'll see that it's going to do the math to round it from Kelvin to Fahrenheit, and then it's going to pick between light blue, orange, and red for the background color. Now, in the prompt, I didn't say what dictates cold versus warm versus hot. I just said choose the colors based on what the temperature would show it would be. And honestly, I didn't even really link the two together in terms of how well I could have described this. Like if I was describing this to an alien who knew nothing about Earth, it would probably take a lot more of a descriptive prompt to have them get it right. So let's go down here and let's do the last part. So first, let's grab the script.js. I don't need the colon at the end. And again, I could type these names in, but I'm just being as straightforward as I can be to show you really don't need to do much but copy and paste here. So we have the script file, and we're going to go back, copy our code, and we are almost done, which is the crazy part. So we have our code in here, and it has a nice comment, replace with your Open Weather Map API key. So again, going in here, and we are up here in my API keys if you forget how to get there. And again, this is a free account. You can pay for a longer term account to use if you want to make an actual weather app or use this data for another app. So we're going to go ahead and paste. All right. Okay. And everything is good there. So we should be good to go to run it. Now, as you remember, we installed the extension Live Server, and we're about to show you why you want to have this installed and why it's so beneficial. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the index page, okay? And we have everything we need here. So we've done everything that it's asked us to do based on what we've asked it to create. We've gone, so we're going to Open Weather, and we've gotten what we need here for the API. So I'm going to close this, and let's see what it does. So to use Live Server, so you don't have to upload this to a server you buy on a hosting platform, we're going to go ahead and render our virtual server. So Live Server, click to run Live Server. You click Go Live, and there we go, Weather App. And so I'm going to put in my zip code for 15237 and hit submit. And look at that. It's a little chilly here now, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice and simple. And it turns to light blue. Now let's go to South Florida, 33913. That's Southwest Florida. And it is 57 degrees. Still a little bit chilly. Now, what are the conditions for warm versus cold? So it looks like it's really just picking between the 85 for the upper bound limits of what would be considered warm here. And if it's under 60, we're going to get the light blue color. So that's why we're getting that right now. So it looks like it's a little bit chilly out there. So yeah, so long story short, this works. We have everything that we need. The logic is getting handled. Now, let's just say we wanted this to render it in Celsius. Let's do it that way. And all I would say is, can you rewrite the code to display the temperature in Celsius? All right. Let's see if I could spell Celsius here. That would be great. Very, very good. Let's see what it says. It says, sure, okay. Sounds good. Okay, so it sounds like it already knows what it needs to go change in the code. And it's going to rewrite us our new JavaScript file. So I'm having it rewrite the code. Now you could do things like say, can you add a certain, functionality to the code? And it will actually just show you where in here you need to leave the code that's in here and just add the new code to it. You just have to be careful with what you're pasting and where you're pasting it, because all these little brackets really, really matter in the semicolons. So here we have our updated code being worked out. And we're going to wait for this to render here. Now, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is we have our weather app open here. And I'm going to go back in here just to show you how easy it is to edit this. So say we want to, instead of the button saying submit, we want it to say get temp. Okay? So that will now, whenever we render our button, whenever we go live here with the live server, instead of saying submit, it'll say get temperature. And instead of saying weather app, let's see, we'll say color changing weather. And we'll make that the title of it. And up here is the title that you'll see in the web browser whenever you have a tab open. So let's just keep that short. But just to show you how simple it is to go in and change little things like that, you don't even need to know what else is going on. Of course, if anyone watching this does know what's going on with JavaScript, CSS, or any other programming languages, you know this is just the very tip of the iceberg. So the rest of the code remains the same. Make sure to replace your API key with your own API key. Save and update. So let's do that. So let's go into our script, and we're going to just highlight all of it. And I'll do this just to show you. I'll delete it, and then I'll paste. And now let's go back. We're going to actually need to go back and grab our OpenWeather API key again. So we'll go do that. Click on API. And we will paste it in right here. Okay. And everything should be good to go. So now we are going to go ahead, and I clicked dispose of the live server that was running before. So we want a brand new instance. Now that we've rewritten everything, let's start fresh. So index, go live. And color changing weather, that's what we change, and get temp. So everything's in there. And now let's see if it changes it to show in Celsius. And look at that. 0 degree. Wow, it makes it sound way colder whenever you say it in Celsius. Now let's do one we all know, 90210, California. 12 degrees Celsius. Wow. So it is chilly across the nation. So let's lower the parameters for what cold and warm would actually look like at the end of the day. So what I'd want to do now is actually go back to the old code that I had in here where I did it in Fahrenheit. So I will do that. And I'm going to go ahead and paste. And I'm going to go grab my API key again. Throw it in where it says. Okay, so now when we're in here in Fahrenheit, so let's say 35 is what we actually want. So not 6,350, that'd be a bit much. So 35. So wherever it says 60, I'm going to say 35. And then wherever it says 85, I'm going to say 60. Okay, so this is the basic logic. And again, could I sit here and write this out? Maybe if I took a month's time to go through some different videos and really figured out how to write something out like this. Sure, in my free time, I'm sure I could arrive there. But in the 15 or so minutes we've been doing this, that is a bit different. So just looking at things like This is obviously the simple logic where it's showing the color, and you have numbers here. The numbers must correlate to the different, levels of what would be considered cold, warm, and hot, because I didn't give it that. That's how I'm arriving at that in problem solving. So let's see if I was right. So now we should render in Fahrenheit again, and we should have lowered the threshold for what is, so 90210 should have lowered the threshold for what is considered warm or hot. So boom. Just wanted to prove that not everywhere A is cold, and then also that our app does work, because if every piece of data that we're grabbing will only show one result, hard to really test. So we had to make some parameter changes to make sure we got that. So we were back in Fahrenheit, and let's go back down to Florida. And yeah, same here, but then when we go back up to somewhere cold, it changes to cold. And I don't know a zip code for somewhere hot enough to make it red. So let's go back in and change our code. And I just want to make sure it works. So we're going to make everything way, way lower here. All right. And let's see. So we'll dispose of that. Close this out. And then we'll run it from the top. And now we'll put 90210. And we have red. Perfect. So we know that when it hits these given thresholds, it's going to ultimately do what we want. Now I'm just going to edit undo here all the way back up and make sure everything's in. So now we should actually be as good as new. So now when I go 90210, take out the 1, it will actually be honest and say it's below 60 degrees, so we have to show the light blue technically. But that is it. You have created your first project, basically, a lightweight, front-end development project with a little bit of, dynamic functionality pulling from an open API. This is a project most beginners, it would probably take a month or two, if not longer. Intermediate, maybe a couple weeks. And obviously someone advanced, this is pretty basic. However, they would have to write the code, and we didn't write any code. So now, this basic workflow is set up to your benefit. You can ask things like this. You understand the sort of results you're going to get and how to use them and implement them into a project here. And then now you know that you can go down here with live server, click run live server, and you actually be able to test your app right inside of your browser. So let's hit refresh, and it will go back to the very, very beginning, like a brand new fresh app that we just opened, and do it one more time. So 1, 5, 2, 3, 7. And look at that. You love to see it. Okay, so now we have a fully functioning web app that we have created solely with the help of ChatGPT and just telling it what we wanted, and it nailed it. So I hope this properly shows and displays A, what you're capable of if you were following along and ended up with the same result that I did, and B, how easy this is to do, how helpful and how intuitive this natural language way of working with an AI is, and pretty much that the sky is the limit. The limit is your creativity. You just need a little bit of the tools like Visual Studio Code and some of the extensions to make it easier to make those ideas come to life. And that's what this channel is about. So feel free to subscribe for watching more videos in the future. They'll be coming up soon. And like the video if you had a good time, if you learned something. And also please leave a comment and let me know what you thought. Did it work for you? Did you run into different trouble? And also, what else do you want to see? What other types of projects should we work on? This is just somewhat of a basic, more to intermediate project, but just goes to show you how much we can get done in, under 30 minutes time, which would otherwise take hours, if not weeks, for most of us. So thank you again for watching. We will catch you on the next video. Have a good rest of your day.